Hello and welcome back to Icaria. So I lied to you guys a bit last time. Well, I didn't know I was lying at the time, but I said I was going to work on rebuilding the main base, but I decided I'm going to do power first. Now, I thought power would be kind of boring because there's already a tutorial in the game. If you go into advanced trees and forestry, it shows you how to cut down trees and use it for generating power. In addition, I covered some more details about beacon blueprints and how to use that for setting up power faster in the update 1 video during early access. So there's that as well. I'll put a link to that video in the description. There's a bunch of good stuff in that video. But I came up with a fun way of doing a much more sort of script heavy way of doing farming, which is a different approach to it, which I thought would introduce a bunch of new mechanics in the programming language. So I'm going to do that first. And this is actually a good time to set up power anyhow. Often I set up the power before I rebuild the base rather than after. Not that it matters that much one way or the other. So when we're collecting trees or when we're harvesting trees, we need to do 3 things. We need to cut the trees down. We only cut down old trees because those are the ones that are guaranteed to give us a seed, and it gives us the most logs. So it's the most efficient use of the material, the biomass, which is in the soil. Trees, if you don't know, actually drain the soil slowly out of biomass. So eventually the planting will no longer be good because the soil gets degraded. But if you want to get the most for your most bang for your buck, you want to wait until the trees are old before you cut them down. In addition, for instance, maples are better than pines. And if you go up here in the item browser underneath seeds, there's descriptions for all the seeds. Oh, I've got the game zoomed here, so this isn't quite legible, but there's descriptions for what all the seeds do. You can scroll this around and see the whole thing. Descriptions of all the seed properties, and you'll find that maples are one of the better seeds to plant, so that's what we're going to do. And there's a nice batch of maples here. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to create a set of beacons for marking the places where we're going to plant trees. So I'm going to call this, because that's what we're going to do. And I call it maples because we might want to plant some other kind of tree at some point in the future. And then the drone, when it goes to planting, needs to decide what kind of seed it's going to take. We're going to collect seeds and storage down here. So I call it plant maples in case I want to plant something else at some point later in the game. I mean, at the moment, maples are far and away the best opportunity we've got. But once we start expanding, there'll be other options. And I'm going to make it green like that. Okay. So that's where we're going to plant. And I'm going to move this a little over here. And then I'm going to make a second one of these guys over here, like so. And then I'm going to make one down here, like that. If you drag outside the area radio, it doesn't make the beacon, which is a bit annoying. But there we go. So I've got 4 beacons here. Check up here. Should have 4 beacons. Yep, 4 plant maples beacons here. We'll filter. Oops, let's filter for these. Plant maples like that. Okay. And but we're not going to write the planting script first. The first thing we're going to do is write the script for cutting things down. And I've got a drone over here with a chainsaw. He's ready to cut stuff down. And I've got a surveyor. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a role. I guess I'm just going to call it trees, like so. And I'm going to set this to 25 by 25. And then I'm going to set the terrain filter to old trees. So this is where we're going to cut down trees. You'll notice that there's an old tree right here. And so the square shows up. But as we move around, next thing I'm going to do is start writing my script. So we come over here and I'm just going to put a loop in here and then hash in, what did I call this role again? Oh, this is called plant maples. So we're going to loop through all the places we're going to, for the plant maples role, like so. Like that. So, Okay, there we go. So what happens here with the for each, let's put the end in here so get rid of the errors. The for each, what it does is it takes everything that's been assigned to the plant maples role and it loops through them. It does it in numeric order. So if I click on this one here, you'll see this is beacon number 22. It'll visit 22 first. This one's 23, and then it'll go 24 and then 25. And so that's the idea. We're going to visit each one of them one at a time. Now the next thing we do here is once we've gone to it, we're going to do a while greater than 0, 5, and end like that. So what does this do? And I'm just going to redo the D so it reformats. So what this does is this: we go to the beacon. We're going straight to the beacon here. This isn't going to like high points or low points. This actually will go and it'll sit right on top of the beacon, which is actually sort of important for the way this works. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get around to cutting logs, where the approach is different. So as long as the area of the beacon, that's the number of tiles that the beacon matches, is greater than 5. So we're going to go visit this one, and then what we'll do is we'll wait as long as our area is greater than 0. So area counts essentially the number of trees that are matched. It's the number of tiles that are matched. So if we do this, and we run this script now, and I'm going to unpause. Oh, and I left the game running really slow here. So let's watch. This guy goes up here. Then let's speed this up a little bit more here. Okay, now we got a bunch of matches. And it's just sitting here in a loop because its area is whatever its area is big enough because it's got a bunch of matches. And then it's going to wait there. And then once all the trees are cut down, it's going to move to the next one. And then we're going to cut down the trees in here. We'll cut down the trees here. And the surveyor will just keep doing the tour. So now we're going to take our tree chopper here. Let's call this thing like so, give him an action, and oops, I didn't want to do that. There we go. Okay, so like that. So what am I doing here? So I'm going to go to trees, which is what my beacon is called, I believe, or my surveyor is called. Nope. There it is. My surveyor is called trees. And where did I put my drone? Here he is, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the nearest one. I mean, there's only going to be one because we only have one surveyor here. Then we go to near point, and that'll go to the closest tree in the area of the surveyor. You want this near point, or you could do random point if you want. But if you just say .nearest, then it'll go to the surveyor itself. What you want it to do is to go to one of the marked trees. You have to pick one of these arguments here so that it searches the area for something. And then like so, like so. So now what we've done here is we say, we go to the tree, go to trees, the near point, this will go to a tree. And if we actually succeeded in going to a tree, then we chop the tree down and then we loop back up to the top. If we failed, then we're going to go to like that. We're going to go to the nearest random point in the nearest parking lot. And we go to random point because this keeps if you send like I've got lots of drones sitting here in the parking areas, so this keeps them from colliding with each other. If they go to a random point, they'll find a place. And then next thing I'm going to do is count 0. So what I'm going to do here is, as long as there are no, well, let's come back up here. So if there are no trees, if there are no trees beacons, or in this case, no trees surveyors, if it's set to 0, then I'm going to just sit here in a loop and wait. And if we come back over here, you'll notice that this has got the when empty hide. So what that means is if he has no matches, Then he turns off his broadcaster. This is the little icon up here for turning off the broadcaster. And that means that my my chopping drone, wherever I put him, oh, here he is, like that. Won't see it, right? The count should come up 0. And then we rest 5 and we go into loop. And then once we found that, once there is some place to go to, then we say play this, like so. And I'm going to call this like so. And we start this running like that. And then we go up here like so, and you'll see we chop down a bunch of trees. And then once we've chopped down all the trees, then the surveyor moves on. And then we start chopping trees down over here. And then the drone goes back goes back, and then we chop down trees over here. And then if we watch, see the surveyor now goes back to the beginning of the loop, and it goes around in a circle and around in a circle because there's nothing to chop down. And at some point we'll have a tree get to be old enough again. Oh, there we go. And then we chop it down. And so the surveyor keeps going around in a loop. And then we keep chopping trees down. And in a second here, we're going to run into a little bit of a problem, which we'll need to fix. So I'm going to just sit here and watch the surveyor run around in a circle for a bit. And at some point or other, my surveyor is going to run out of power. Let's go find him here. Surveyor like that. Okay. So now if we look here, like that, if we look at the battery, battery is 0. So that's a bit of a problem. So we need to fix that. So what we're going to do is, first thing we're going to do is save this action. So this is called Visit Maples. It just goes through all the maple planting beacons. And we're going to do a new action. So this is going to do something when we run out of power. Or when we run low on power, because we want to fix the problem before we run completely out of power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a place over here. Let's do that. Let's make it some other color, like say yellow. We're going to call it recharge. So this is the place where our surveyor is going to go to recharge when its battery gets low. Somewhere over here. There's a surveyor. There we go. So we're going to create a new action. And when less than, let's see, 0.25 times like so. And I got to make this a little bit bigger so it doesn't wrap like that. So when our battery is below 1/4 of our battery capacity, then we need to do something. And the answer is we need to go to and again, we do this, we go to recharge, the nearest recharging point, and then we go to random point in it again for the same reason for parking. We don't want, if we've got multiple people going there to recharge, we don't want them to collide with each other. And then so if our battery is less than our battery capacity, then we just rest for 5, end. And that's pretty much all we need to do. So what we're going to do is go to the recharge point, wait for the battery to recharge, and then end. And then, the when, so here's the trick. When is like probably the most complicated command in the entire programming language. What when does is it sits there in the background, not in a running script. When is watching for something to happen. And when that thing happens, it interrupts what's currently running. Goes off and does something. And when it returns back to the script that was running. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to save this as a recharge script. Like so. So we're running Visit Maples, and this will be the script that'll be running When this condition is true, it will temporarily stop running visit maples, and it'll go off and start running the recharge script instead. It'll run until the recharge script exits, either by hitting a return statement or just coming to the end of its command. And then it's going to return to whatever command it was executing in visit maples and continue doing what it was. There's an added nuance to this, which is that the recharge script can interrupt anything, whatever the drone is doing, it'll interrupt it, with one exception, which is that if the recharge command is running, it won't interrupt itself. And you really want that, because what's going to happen here, right, is we say when the battery is less than a quarter of battery capacity, it then starts moving over here. And if we didn't have that property, if it didn't prevent interrupting itself, then it would just keep looping back. It would execute the when, execute the when, execute the when, because the battery would never get charged. So the idea here is, as long as we stay within the recharge action, this when won't fire again. So we go down here, and the key thing here is we go in, the key thing to implementing whens is you want to make sure whatever triggered the when in the first place is resolved before you exit, because otherwise it'll just keep getting restarted. So you go in and do whatever you have to do to resolve the trigger. In this case, we resolve the triggers if our battery was low, and we stay here, we rest inside here until the battery is back up to full, and then we return. And then we know that this won't re-trigger again until the battery gets back to a quarter of full. That's the idea. So now we should be able to execute this. Let's unpause, and I don't know where I should have left him selected here. Oh, I forgot to recharge him. That's not going to work. Okay, let's bring him back into range here like that. And then we click on Visit Maples like so. And then we should be good here, right? And we're back to cutting trees down again. And now the surveyor will recharge every time it needs to. So the second step in this exercise is to collect logs. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to have a separate surveyor for marking the locations of logs, and a set of drones that will then collect logs. And the surveyor is going to wait until all the logs are collected and then move on to the next spot. So over here, we'll just come over here to my garage like that. And we need to make another surveyor like that. And we'll just make one of these like that. And let's bring him over here. So let's come back, and where's my surveyor here? This guy, let's select him, and let's just copy this, and then come over here. Where'd my surveyor go? There he is, like that. And we're going to say new action like that. Switch this into this mode. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go here. So why do we do this? When we go to, unlike the tree chopping one, for this one we want to go to a random point. And the reason why, and you'll be able to see it if we look over here, trees fall in a direction, and sometimes they fall outside the area. I don't really have any. All of these would get collected, but trees have this obnoxious habit to fall sometimes outside the rectangle. So there's two reasons why we want to go to random point. One is because we've already got a surveyor that's going to go to the center, to this marker here. It's going to be visiting each one of these things. So if we have two of them try to go to the same place, they'll collide with each other, and you can deadlock if you do that. So you don't want to go to exactly the same location. You could go to the point with like a tile offset, but if we go to random point, the nice thing is that it'll be anywhere in this rectangle. And so it misaligns the area where we're picking up logs relative to the area where we're picking up, where we're planting trees. And that lets us catch the logs that fall outside the rectangle. So that's what we're going to do. And the difference here, right, is instead of we need to pick up log piles, this catches, you don't want to look for logs because you also want to catch the seed. So log pile is, you see like this collection here, The container, this is a log pile, and this log pile contains one log or two logs and one pine cone. And if you just look for logs, then it'll look for the log piles that have logs in them and miss the log piles that have seeds in them. So if you look for log piles, then you're looking for the container rather than the contents, and that generally works better. And then we want to set this thing up to 25 by 25, just like we did with the other one. And then we want to set the roll on this to like that. And maybe I'll make this guy lime rather than, or maybe I'll make him yellow. How about that's kind of like brown like that. Okay, so we can see them and tell them apart. And then we're going to give this action also the name like so. And then we also need to, for the same reason, we need to go to our, go to this surveyor like that, take the recharge, copy this script. And actually, you know what I can do? I can do something better, more clever than that. I can take this new action and then make it say import, and just take this action and import it. Oh, that's a, okay. No, we're good. Right. And so now we can put this and save this action also as okay, like that. And so let's just kick that off like that, and it'll come up here, and you'll see it'll mark a whole bunch of logs. Let's make sure that it went to a misaligned spot. Yes, it did. Okay. And the next thing we need to do is set up a log collecting script, which is, okay, we've got a miner here. We're going to take you and turn you into a log collector. So new role. Like that. And we need to build a storage here for putting logs in. Oops. Like that. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. I'm going to pull a second storage here. You'll see what I'm doing here in a second. We're going to hook them together with a, so this, we're going to call this green again. And for the moment, we're just going to call this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call this, like that. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this have a request for logs all the way up to 20K. So we'll fill up with logs. So the idea here is that all the logs get dropped in here, but all the seeds get dropped in here as well. This one will pull the logs out and leave the seeds behind. So we're separating our logs from our seeds, which will be handy because we're going to come back here and grab the seeds when we need to start planting them. And so where were we? I had a drone someplace that I was going to program to do a log collector like that. Okay. And I guess the answer is this isn't terribly different from our chopping script. So let's just go ahead and do this. Let's import chop trees like that. Go to trees. So what we want to do is, what did I call the drone? This guy, you are collect logs. Okay. So let's come back here like that. Go to, this should be, and replace that there as well. And then we want to do random point here. Reason why we do random point here is because we're going to have a lot of drones picking up logs because there's a bunch of logs. And then like that. So we found a log, we take it, we then And I call, what did I call this? I called this log delivery. Okay. Like so. And then like that. So what we're going to do is we take whatever happens to be in the logs, we go to log delivery and we give it, and then we go back. And other than that, pretty much the script stays the same. So we're going to go ahead and save this as like that. Start this running. Let's unpause the game. Let's check to make sure that our script is running properly. Let's close that. Yeah, we're getting logs in here. You see now we're picking up logs. Okay, so now what we're going to do is grab a bunch more of these drones over here like this. You guys, let's get that out of the way. We're going to reprogram you all to log collectors and tell you to collect logs. And now we should be getting a whole bunch of logs. And if all goes well, yeah, for a little while, let's just crank this up. I'm going to grab. So one of the things we added recently to the game is if you double click, you collect everybody who's got the same role in the same team. So I can collect this whole group, and we're just going to click this up like that. And oops, nope, not chop trees. What am I doing here? Assign role, a log collector like that, and collect logs. So that should put us in pretty good stead for logs. And then once we've done that, we'll have a nice collection of logs here pretty quickly, which we can use to hook up the power. I'm probably not going to collect power. I'm not going to hook this up to anything right away. I'm just going to let these accumulate. More to the point, because I want to get, you see, here we go. We're accumulating seeds in here. Eventually, we're going to set up a managed farm. And then we want the seeds to replant. Oh, actually, I forgot this. Here I am going off in the end, and I haven't talked about the last piece. Which, oh, I'm going to need a drone. Let's just print another one like that. So the other last thing we need to do is plant trees. And that's pretty straightforward. Just do that, get a drone. And like that. So now we're going to write a script to plant the maple trees. So what we start with is say if bang this.storage.contains. So if we don't have a maple seed in our inventory, then we want to do something. We want to go to log delivery. Like so. And go to the log delivery. And now if this if we've got anything in our storage that's, you know, now we know not a maple seed, we want to give that to storage, get rid of it. Oh, I have to actually say greater than 0, like so, end. And then we want to do a take maple seed, like so. So the first thing we do is check to make sure that we've got a maple seed, and then what we want to do is go to, so this is saying, hey, if we've got anything other than a maple seed, we want to get rid of it, and then we want to take a maple seed, and then we want to do go to, and then I had a, it's called, what is it called? It's called plant maples, right? This is coming back to the end of it, right? We were saying we're going to do the plant. So we're just going to go to a random point within a random plant maples beacon. We're hunting for a place where we can plant a seed. turns out that the easiest way to figure out where to plant trees is just to guess and keep trying until you succeed. And then on success, play this. So if we succeed, oops, need an extra C in here and like that. So if we succeed, we restart, which goes back up here. So let's actually just go loop and then end like so. So the idea is we keep trying random places, random points within the plant maples. And the moment we succeed, we go up to the top, because at that point we know we no longer have we have a maple seed, so we have to go grab another one. So I'm going to go ahead and save this action like so. And then what we're going to do here is the same thing we did before, which is import the recharge script, because it's the same deal here. We're going to keep running around looking for places to plant maples, and if we run out of power, then where is it? Oh, we don't have a recharge script for drones yet. Okay. So we need to go, we can only import from things that are the same type as we are. So I need to actually copy the code. So we're going to come over here like that, just copy the code. Yeah, the import code isn't smart enough to validate that whatever script you're writing is actually going to work on a different type of entity. So you have to actually copy and paste, and then it'll fail to compile here if it doesn't work like that. So now I've got a recharge as well, and so we can hit that, and hopefully at this point, see, here we go. He found a place, and then he goes back to pick one up. He goes out here. He found a place to plant it, and then he goes back to pick one up. Got no place there. We can't plant it there, probably because there isn't enough biomass. And there we go. So that's a that's a full set of scripts, which will bring in, I mean, ideally lots of logs, right? We've got 1,300 logs. We're actually going to fill this thing up fairly quickly, so we probably want to be consuming it at some point. Maybe the right answer here is just to go ahead and build one of these guys. Say, let's just put it here. This is kind of a nice place to put it like that. And then just put in like that, anyhow, that's the idea. And that'll give us some extra power for our base. And I don't really care about this stuff at the moment. I'm not worried about this because I'm going to rebuild the part that hasn't been, I don't need to repave this area because it's already in limestone. The parts up here are the part that are going to get the limestone. So there we go. Anyhow, so we'll come back in the next video, and I'll probably tear all this stuff out, but and then repave this with limestone, and we're going to expand the area, and we'll rebuild the factory. I'll probably do the expansion, maybe the repaving off camera, and then we'll come back and talk about how we're going to build the factory, because we've got some kind of fun little programming things to do there as well. Anyhow, so I'll see you in the next one.